Hello and welcome to our first session of our Sunday school training. I say first session because we will do two sessions for this training. The first session is building blocks for a great Sunday school growth, or perhaps we should say for your Sunday school class. And so I hope that you have your material with you so that you can follow along and fill in and see just exactly what we're talking about. Sunday school, even though many consider Sunday school a dinosaur, well, let me say this. Yes, Sunday school can become a dinosaur if we don't change some of the things that we do in Sunday school. You know, dinosaurs no longer exist because they did not make the change. And a lot of times we may need to make changes in our Sunday school methods, not the message, but the method. And so therefore, we don't grow. But this is about growing. And one thing that we like at St. Stephen is intentional growth. There are several ways that a class or a church can grow, and that is families come and they have children, and it grows that way. Other ways churches grow, our classes may grow, and this is the worst type and the way that we seem to love to want to do it. We have people who church hop, church shop, and church swap. Many times that's the kind of growth that we have. That's not the kind of growth that we're looking for. For me to build my Sunday school class doesn't mean that I'm going to try and steal from your Sunday school or your class, but we need to develop new followers, new believers. So let's look at what causes churches and Sunday schools to grow. First of all, churches that have a clear mission and purpose. And certainly that should be easy for all of us because all churches have the same, that's opening the door of Jesus Christ. They have the same mission, and that is, what is our mission? The Great Commission. That's our mission, and our purpose is to carry out the Great Commission. The second little spot there says clergy and congregations who are intentional about and prioritize growth. And that's the kind of growth that we want at St. Stephen. We want intentional growth. In other words, go out and do. Remember what I said? What is our mission? Our mission is the Great Commission. That's intentional growth. Go out and get those who are not involved. Now, in Sunday school, you can look around in the congregation to those members who are not involved in Sunday school and get them involved in Sunday school. Did you not know that the way the church grows is because Sunday school grows? All right? Now, point number 3. Clergy and worshipers are willing to change and adapt. That's what I meant when I talked about the dinosaurs. We must be willing to change and adapt. And many of you, I'll say this to you because some of you have questions as to why we do not use the standard lesson or the universal lesson that every Sunday school uses, because here at St. Stephen, what we want you to see in Sunday school is that the Bible is relevant today just like it was yesterday. In other words, we want to have the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other hand and bring them together. We'll talk more about that at session number 2 when we talk about teaching the teachers, all right? Then let's look. Churches where lay people as well as ordained clergy are active in leadership and other roles. You will see that as we go along in this training, that our classes are set up, are positioned to grow, and that is because of the leadership role. The teacher is not the only leader in the class, all right? Then point number 5, churches that actively engage children and young people. And certainly that is one of the hardest parts. You have to actively engage young people. the way you teach the lesson, and we will talk about that when we talk about teaching, but teaching the lesson to adults is different than teaching the lesson to children. Teaching the lesson to children is different than teaching the lesson to young people. So, but we have to actively engage children and young people in being involved in the Sunday school class. In fact, one of the classes, Happy Hour, that on Monday nights at the Indiana campus, one evening I had one of the young students that we had, because that's an intergenerational class, to come up and help me teach the class. I gave her assignment beforehand, and so she sat there and we taught together. Oh, was she proud? Of course she was proud. Her grandparents, parents, everybody came out. And that's the way that you can get them involved. Okay? Churches with a welcoming culture who build ongoing relationships with people. And that's the way the class is set up. That's why we have fellowship coordinators in each class. And let me move on. Churches that nurture disciples, offering specific encouragement through courses and activities. That is what calls your class and the church to grow. And then, of course, clergy leaders who innovate, envision, and motivate people. And that's what we try to do within the classes. So let's get into it and look and talk about how we're going to grow. Well, it's called building blocks. We need some blocks. Block number one, we need to organize to grow. You cannot grow. Remember, I said intentional growth is what we're looking for. And that takes the 5-4-1 method. 5-4-1. Each class will grow when the class follows the 5-4-1 method. What does that mean? Each class has 5 functions. And guess what? You will discover that the 5 functions are the functions almost of the church. Function number 1 is to teach. That is teach. And we've got to understand, teach, not preach. See, preaching and teaching have different aims. And so we preach to convict, convince, and convert. And teach, we teach. Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, because that will again come up, but you need to know why you teach. And you should always have an aim when you teach. So one of the functions is teaching. Evangelism. Evangelism. It is all about reaching out to others. Evangelize. Fellowship. You should have a fellowship coordinator. In fact, every function that we have here within the class, you should have a coordinator. You should have a teacher and a co-teacher. You should have evangelism coordinator who keeps evangelism in front of the class. You should have a fellowship coordinator. This is how come we are able to do the functions that we just previously mentioned. The fellowship coordinator. Then you have a missions and ministry coordinator. The missions and ministry coordinator is of vital importance to the class. And then, of course, a prayer coordinator. The class is led to pray for one another, for the church, for the pastor, and of course for growth. So those are the 5 functions. And as you see, that is what we do as well in church. We could add another one for the church, and that is worship or discipleship. But discipleship really comes with the teaching. So therefore, you can see that the Sunday school is made up almost exactly like the church. Our 5 functions will give us 4 types of growth. This is the way that we grow. It grows numerically. You will grow spiritually. You will grow financially. And you will go ministerial. You will have more ministries to develop if you follow the 5-4 plan. And I, for one, can tell you that it works, because 5 years ago, I started a class called Coffee Cafe in Christ. We started with 4 people in the cafe, and we used this method, the 5 functions, and guess what? Numerically, we have grown. In fact, we had to go to a larger room. It is nothing. Yesterday, or last Sunday, we had 70 in that class because we follow the way that the pastor has laid out the plan, intentional growth. We have grown spiritually, and when your numbers grow and your teaching grows, then your finances will grow. And we have developed ministries. And everything is based on some 5 functions, 4 types of growth, 1 mission, the Great Commission. And that is what it's all about, is the Great Commission. Now, there are expectations. You have to understand there are expectations. If not, then you will go any way the wind blows or do whatever you want. And guess what? That will not grow your class. The Sunday school expectation. Number 1, I need for you to commit to the strategy, commit to the 5-4-1 function. Commit to it. Know that it will work. I've just told you it will work. The pastor has used this type of function to even grow St. Stephen. Why would you go to a person and ask them how to grow their class or how to grow the church if that person has 1 or 2 in their class or 5 or 6 in their church? You will go to one who are bursting at the seam, and they will tell you they have a strategy, but you have to commit to the strategy. Then, number 2, what I said to you before, organize with purpose. With purpose. And our purpose is to teach and to reach. That's what our purpose is. And so that if we want people to see that the Bible is relevant today, and it's not just about hearing and studying about the Red Sea, because see, the point that we are missing is, yes, we need to know about them crossing the Red Sea, but what today people want to know is, what about my Red Sea? Will God help me cross my Red Sea? We can talk about feeding the 5,000, yes, and we should know the scripture. But the bottom line is we need to get people to understand that he will feed your 5, just like he fed 5,000, he can feed your 5. So we organize with purpose, and our purpose is to teach and to reach. Then expectation is building kingdom leaders. In your class, you should always look around and see who in the class perhaps is showing leadership quality, and develop kingdom leaders, not just leaders who are fussing and cussing and arguing and fighting, or they can never be satisfied, but kingdom leaders. Then number 4, expectation is develop soul winners. My sisters and brothers, I cannot say that enough. Develop soul winners. Once we remember, in fact, we'll have this lesson coming up very shortly, that when Andrew met up with Jesus, the first thing that he did was he went and he got his brother. You will notice that the apostles, the disciples, they go out to get somebody. We need to develop soul winners. Remember when Jesus said, I need you to tarry here in Jerusalem, wait till the power comes. After that, ye shall be witnesses of me. And so he said, I want you to witness in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the uttermost parts of the world. We need to develop soul winners. I'm going to get ahead. So I'm going to stop there because I was getting ready to go on into a lesson that we are going to have that is coming up. And because many times we are stargazers and not soul winners. What do I mean? I mean, you remember when Jesus ascended up into heaven, the disciples were caught looking up at him. And I can't say that I blame him. He had to dispatch angels and go back and say, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing? This same Jesus who you see going, it will return in like manner. And many of us are still stargazing. Are we going to be soul winners? Point number 5, expectation. Win the loss. Win the loss. And my sisters and brothers, that is why Christ left us here. When we were saved, we could have gone straight on to heaven, but he left us here for a purpose, and that is to win the loss. Point number 6, assimilate new members. When new members come in, they don't want to be left on the outside. They want to be on the inside. Give them something to do. In fact, get them involved. Now, we will have a Sunday school mall ministry. I'm calling it showcase because that's what I want the classes to do. Showcase, highlight your class. And when I asked who would be willing to man a table, I was so pleased that the first person to volunteer was my newest member. And they said, well, I was recruited and I want to sit and do the same thing. And that's what she felt like. I'm a part of this class. Assimilate them into the class. So get your new members involved. Get them active. Don't sit on this thing, well, they so new, they don't know how we do it. Well, they may bring some new blood into the class. And trust me, new blood is not bad. Then, number 7, partner with families. Particularly those of you who might be teaching children or youth, partner with families. Now see, here's the great myth. Many times we think children will get parents to Sunday school. Wrong answer. Parents get children to Sunday school. Listen to me, listen to me. You see, when we think parents or children will bring parents, it won't happen. Yeah, they will do it if there's a special day and your child's got a little part. They will come and see them. Otherwise, parents will drop their children off for Sunday school and go home and come back for church and see it as babysitting. Sunday school is not designed for babysitting. It's designed to teach all ages. So you partner with families. Go after the parents, and when the parents come, they'll bring their children. Okay? Then, number 8, teach to transform. Teach to transform. Remember that one. Teach to transform. 3 little words. Teach to transform. All right? Then 9, mobilize for ministry. That's the reason that we have, and you will see this when we get to the part about the position, each class position and what they are to do. Mobilize for ministry, and that's what we do throughout the Sunday school. We are mobilizing you to get ready and go out and evangelize and bring them in so that we can have 4,000 in Sunday school. That's the way it goes. Then 10, multiply leaders and units. So when we said we wanted to get 4,000 in Sunday school, what was the first thing that we did? We had to stop and think, how many new teachers, how many new units do we need? Now, many times, now let me say this, and please hear me. Many times, we think because we got 1 in the class over here and 2 in the class over here, let's combine them. Combining does not grow the Sunday school or the class. Now, you say it grows the class because the class now has 3 instead of 1 or 2. It's got 3. But you got 1 class and not 2. So what you do is work on growing each class. That's a principle that I learned at my mama's feet, because I would watch her and she would have a big plant and she would take a piece of the plant and stick it in some water, and there she will cultivate and nurture it. And do you know what? The piece that she picked off and put into water developed into another plant. And here's the thing, it grew even larger than the original plant. And so guess what? She ended up with 2 plants, and then if she pick off another piece, then she had more. And that's what, so in Sunday school, you multiply by dividing. Oops. That's an oxymoron. Multiply by dividing. So I talked to you and I said to you that we have intentional growth and you've got leadership team. Well, let's talk a little bit about the leadership positions, what each class should have. And you've got an hour for each class. And each class, the teacher should not take the whole hour. Okay? Now, here we go. Here's what you got. You have a prayer leader. The prayer leader has to lead the class in public and personal prayer. And we have prayer request cards you can fill out. And let me say this, prayer leaders, in taking prayer requests, do not allow your class to think that when somebody talks about their request, that they are giving you material for you to go out and gossip about. And too many times we hear people, the class is an intimate thing. That small class is a small group. They come together. They feel like they're among friends. I need you to pray for me. My child did not come home last night. I got a bad doctor's report. That does not give you license to get on the telephone and call somebody and tell them about the business. Just lead them to worship and have them fill out a prayer request card. In fact, you receive prayer request forms and prayer reports at the beginning of every class. Prayer leaders, take those cards after and pray over them during the week. Your prayer leader should be a person who fervently believes that God hears and answers prayers, because they need to take those cards and pray over them. Pray over them. And in fact, in looking at the prayer request, there might be something in the prayer request that the class can do. Not just praying. It may say that somebody, I'm looking for a job. But guess what? It may be somebody in the class who knows where there's a job opening. So see, we hear and answer prayer. So you lead the prayer in participating in church-wide praying activities. Lead the class in praying daily for specific needs of class members and prospects. And the prayer leader opens up and has about 3 minutes open and 1 minute to close. So they open up the class and they close the class. Prayer requests are done at the beginning of the class and not at the end, all right? Administrator. You have administrator, that's the class secretary. And the class secretary can send out postcards or telephone those who have missed 2 Sundays or more. They can text, they can email, but they stay in connection with the people. They maintain the class roster and ensure that it's dropped off at the appropriate spot. Now, then they collect the general class offering and list the total on the attendance sheet. Now, the administrator has 1 minute, and usually the administrator does not take that long. The teacher and our co-teacher. Each class should have a teacher and co-teacher. And needless to say, the teacher has 40 minutes. 40 minutes. They will teach the class, and you need to study the lesson and have teaching presentation prepared for each class session. This is expected of the teacher. The teacher needs to attend the SALT training that's held on Hardin County on Tuesdays and Indiana and Louisville campus on Wednesday. And teachers, let me tell you, picking up your lesson the day before or the day of, let me tell you, your class knows if you know or don't know the lesson. So study how you know your class. For one thing, you need to know your class so that you can tell them, so that you can relate the material to them. So you need to anticipate questions that might come. So we will talk more about the teaching part in session 2, but you need to ensure that you follow or that you work with the pastor and director of Christian education. And I won't go any further with that. The fellowship and activities coordinator, every class should have one. And they help nurture the relationship within the class. They build relationships among class members. In other words, they can also plan outings for the class, or they can plan any kind of function that you might want to do, family night, fellowship events. But when you do that, it's always good to, when you invite somebody that don't belong to Sunday school. I don't even belong to church. And then the fellowship coordinator assimilates new members into the class. All right? They got 4 minutes. The missions leader. The missions leader's responsibility is to make sure that all members of the class know their spiritual gifts. Because now, we call them missions and ministry. Ministry is on the inside. Missions is on the outside. Ministry, so that's why they need to make sure that everyone in the class knows their gift and encourage them to get involved in ministry. Now, then they are to lead the class in establishing a missions project that is outside of the church or outside their class. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't, well, if you happen somebody in the class, you're really doing ministry. In other words, let me say, we had a young lady in our class who had a stroke. And so the class made it their mission to help her. But we were ministering to her and her family by making sure that she had the necessary, when she had to go to rehab, that she had the clothes that was necessary for rehab. We knew that she had to have other things her mama would need to, because she was sickly, that we would give them Kroger gift cards to go to the store, that we would go buy and take to the. So in other words, don't you know that makes that class and that member feel like they are important? When I first came to St. Stephen, and I'll call them out. I don't mind calling them out, because I was touched that the faithful servants of God, they had a man in their class that he came to Louisville by way of his job. And after he retired from his job, He found out maybe a week, 2 weeks later that he had cancer. Well, everyone thought he would probably go home. He did not go home. He wanted to stay here. He wanted to stay in his church. He wanted to stay in his Sunday school class. Do you know what that class did? That class made sure that he got to his chemotherapy treatments, that he got to his doctor, that he did that he had something to eat. They took care of him as if, because he was family. Well, unfortunately, he couldn't beat the cancer. Well, he did. He beat the cancer because he went home. And you know what? The class went to Cleveland, Ohio for his funeral as a class. And I was just absolutely blown away because the depth of love is action. They could say all they wanted to about how much we loved him, but they showed it. And don't you know that went a long ways to his family, that they traveled all the way to Cleveland, Ohio in bad weather for his funeral. So that's what missions is about. And we also get involved. Some of our classes, they third world country, they give to try to have clean water. Others supply a hospice with snacks because at the hospice hospital, they have snacks for family who never leave, or they have food for them who are sitting around waiting with their loved ones. Well, some classes, they furnish that to hospice, and I could go on and on, but this is what's expected. Enter to worship, depart to serve. Then you have a care coordinator who maintains the correspondence among the sick. They keep track of benevolence if you've got that. They can even be the one to write a church paper if a member of the class passes, that type of thing. And then you have the evangelism coordinator. The evangelism coordinator is supposed to keep evangelism in front of the class. Now, how do they do that? They are the ones who each Sunday have. Now, I didn't tell you, the fellowship coordinator have 4 minutes. The missions have 3 minutes. Care coordinator have 2 minutes. Evangelism has more minutes than anyone other than the teacher, because the evangelism coordinator are to get and collect prospects cards. My sisters and brothers, and we will come up. No gas, no growth. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But they must get prospect cards. And the prayer leader can pray over the prospect cards. See how it all works together. Then they work in conjunction with the fellowship coordinator, with the prospect. These are the people that we want to invite to come to our fellowship outings. It all works together. And then the evangelism coordinator extends the invitation to discipleship at the end of class. Now, I know you're wondering, and let me just say this, that each component has necessary training. There is a meeting of the prayer coordinators that's done on a monthly basis. Evangelism is done on a monthly basis, but twice a month. Fellowship coordinators meet on an as-needed basis. Missions and ministry meet bi-monthly. So all of this is done so that we can support the various components, okay? All right, now, but you need them. You need them in place for your class to grow. Well, let's talk about growing your class. Let's talk about growing your class. Now, have you ever seen a bonsai plant? A bonsai plant is one of those little small plants. I used to have one in the office, but keeping it small is hard. Now, here's a thought. If the bonsai plant is supposed to be large, the question is, why is it small? If it's supposed to be large, why is it small? I'm letting you think about that. I'm letting you think about it. The bonsai plant is kept small because it is hindered with by humans. Woo! There it is. For a bonsai, that's how come I couldn't keep mine. It died. Because I didn't have the time to keep fooling with that bonsai plant. Because it takes time. And when you hinder with the plant, you got to. Okay, I'll tell you in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. A plant grows, a large plant grows because it is positioned for growth. The bonsai plant is kept small because it's hindered with by humans. The large plant grows because it is positioned for growth. Now, my next door neighbor, she's got palm tree plant. And if my mother was alive, she would just absolutely love it. That thing stands so tall, so high, and it starts out small. It's down here, and now it must be 8 feet tall. How did it happen? Because it's positioned for growth. Now, but what hinders your growth? What hinders the growth? Why is the bonsai plant small? I said it's hindered by humans. First of all, it's kept in a small pot. It's kept in a small pot. So, many times our classes don't grow because we keep our classes in a small pot. What do I mean? I mean our vision is small. Our vision is small. Well, when I started the Coffee Cafe in Christ, there was only 4 in the class. Well, I couldn't be satisfied with 4 in the class. How can I tell folks to grow their class and I'm going to be satisfied with 4 in my class and I'm the director of Christian education? Can't happen. Besides, if I feel that Sunday school is valuable and important and is relevant, then why wouldn't I want to think about enlarging it? So my vision, first thing I said to them, here's what, it's 4 of us. Next week it can be 8 to 12 of us because each one of us can bring one. And we begin to talk about the class, and our vision was to enlarge the class. And you and your, not just the teacher, but the leadership team need to meet and draw up a vision for the class. If your idea is have 2 and that'll do, then your vision is too small. Little girl was in a candy store, and she was looking at an old-fashioned candy store because there they had this candy sitting out there in a jar. And she was looking at it. And the storekeeper noticed her looking. So he said, well, here, and told her to reach in and get some candy. And she said, He said, go on and get some. And she said to her daddy, you do it. And her daddy said, no, you go on and get some candy. You know you like candy. You're not shy. Get some candy. So she kept on and just so timid said, no, daddy, you do it. So he reached in and got her some candy. And then when they got outside, he said to her, "Why didn't you reach in and get the candy? You're not bashful." She said, "I wanted you to get it." He said, "But why?" She said, "Because your hands are bigger than mine." Oh, that's good. His hands bigger than hers mean that he could get more candy for her than she could for herself. And my sisters and brothers, if we put it in God's hands, his hands are bigger than ours. And so our classes will grow. So don't use a small pot, small vision. Then verbalize your mission. Don't keep it to yourself. The whole class need to know what the mission is. All right? Then, point number 2, reason why that it doesn't grow is because of poor soil. In other words, sometimes when we plant, in our planning, the poor soil for our classes is we fail to plan. Well, this is what they taught me in business school. I learned it at U of L School of Business. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And there it is. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And so you need to plan. Get with your planning team. All those we just went through, the administrator, the prayer leader, the evangelism coordinator, the missions and ministry, the care coordinator, all of this, the prayer leader. Get with all, and you all meet. It could be monthly, could be bi-monthly, could be once a year, however, but plan. And then have policies and procedures. Everything, when you have structure, things will go well for you. Then provision. The teacher has to be ready with provision. Don't come into the class and you are not ready. That will, because I'm telling you that if you fail to study your lesson, they will know it. All right? Now, so what helps you to grow? With any plan. And I learned this one year when my mother loved plants. And she was going to have surgery. And we got up at 5 o'clock in the morning for me to get her to the hospital. And on the way out the door, she saw her plants, because she had plants all in the front porch. And she looked at me and she said, "Elizabeth," that's what she called me, "Elizabeth, don't let my plants die." Oh, pressure was on then, you all, I'm telling you, because I wasn't no plant person. Oh, the pressure was on. Don't let my plants die. So I had to learn how do you grow your plant? The same way you grow your Sunday school class. First of all, cultivate. You got to cultivate. I had to learn, go out there and prune the plant. And this is Bible. This is Bible. Because John chapter 15, Jesus said he would prune it. And you prune the plant. I would go out, and I did. I would water the plant, and I would just water the plant, and the plant would say okay, and it would water because it was hot. Whoa, kind of like it is now. It was hot. So I watered the plant. Then the plant let me know that it needed more than just water. I had to learn to feed the plant. So I would feed the plant. Then one day I thought, okay, this plant look good. And the plant start talking to me. Now don't think I'm all crazy, because I'm not, but the plant start talking. And it says, you need to do a little bit more. You need to pick off some of this dead stuff. And I lifted up, because it was petunias. I lifted up those petunias. I thought, oh my God, all of the dead that was up on there. I cleaned all of that out, pruned it back took off the dead spots. And the next day when I came out, I saw the plant. Oh, I was so proud. I thought, oh, Miss Minnie's going to be happy with her baby girl because I was growing that thing. But I also had, you have to prune. You got to pinch off the dead. Now, that doesn't mean go and pinch off people who hadn't been coming to class. You need to cultivate. You need to go. You need to contact. In other words, the next C for how you're going to help your class to grow, be concerned. First, you cultivate. That's the first C. Second C is be concerned. Concern. And how we do that, you need to intercede. Intercede in doing what? You need to contact or be concerned about your friends. Do you go to Sunday school? In fact, that's a lesson that's coming up. Friends, don't let friends die lost. Now, I know we say friends don't let friends miss heaven, but if you die lost, you're going to miss heaven. So why is it that we can call our friends and talk about everything, but we don't want to talk to them about Sunday school? Intercede and get your friends to Sunday school. Friendualism, that's what I'm talking about. Friend, then relatives. You got relatives? Say, you going to Sunday school just the other week. And yes, I had a loved one to pass. And so I saw some relatives I hadn't seen in a while. And I said, where you going to church? You going to church? Where you going? And they said, are you in Sunday school? And even at St. Stephen, I see a person, I say, I'm going to ask, are you in Sunday school? And if they say yes, guess what? I don't leave it there. I say, what class you in? Because I figure, you might tell me yes and not be in Sunday school. So you've got to talk about Sunday school. If you're not interested, what makes you think they're going to be interested? And then associates. You got people you work with and all that kind of stuff. Invite them. Invite them. Man once said to a friend, say, hey, come and let's go play some golf. And he said, I wish I could play golf with you this Sunday. He said, but we got a special event at church. He said, I'll invite you to play golf with me next time. And so this friend that had originally started the conversation, he said, I want to ask you something. Why is it that you can ask me to come and play golf, but you have never asked me to come to church with you? And guess what? Most people end up coming to church, joining church, because somebody asked them. And so that's why you need to. So ask somebody to come to your class. When you're out there at the showcase, don't sit there thinking they're going to come over to you, asking you about your class. You say, yo, you got a minute? Let me talk to you about my class. I just want to tell you a few minutes. Some of them may go past. That's okay. But somebody will stop. Talk about your class. Not only to associates, but to neighbors. To neighbors as well. My next door neighbor, yeah, I know they both go to Sunday school. You know how come I know? Because I've asked them, do you go to Sunday school? Look, I wasn't getting ready to try to steal them and come to St. Stephen. I was going to tell them go to Sunday school at their own church. But 2 houses down, there's a young man, and you've probably heard me talk about him, but I'm going to get him into church and into Sunday school. I told him, he said, see, you leave kind of early. I said, how would you know I'm leaving early if you're not setting up out on your porch with your 40-ounce can if you didn't see me? So if you can get up and sit out on your porch and drink your 40-ounce can, you can get up, come to Sunday school with me. I don't care that beard's on his brow. That's the ones that we need to get in. Okay, so in other words, in your concern, you intercede, you also invest. Invest some time. Invest some time in this thing. Then the other C is care. Care. You need to enlighten people about your class. You need to encourage people about your class. You need to edify or tell people about your class. They're not going to know about your class if you don't tell them, because people are not a mind reader. And then, what kind of climate is your class? That's the thing that you also, what helps you to grow is your climate. Is your climate inviting? Or is it just, well, here we are? Is it invigorating? Is it exciting? That's it. People won't see. What is that the pastor says? When people get excited, when members get excited, people get invited. That's it. When members get excited, people get invited. And that's how my class grew. The members got excited. Said, whoa, that was a good lesson. I didn't know Sunday school was like this. It wasn't about, because we served coffee and orange juice every Sunday. And I got to thinking, are these people coming for the coffee, for the orange juice, for the donut? So guess what? I stopped it because I wanted to see, why are you coming? And I discovered they wasn't coming for the coffee. They were coming because they were invited. When members are excited, people get invited. So make your class invigorating. Incorporate things into your class, ideas, and this is where the planning comes in, and involving others in your class. Involving others in your class. How? You invite them. Inviting. Now, here it is. No guests, no growth. That's the motto. No guests, no growth. And we ask that you be fishers. That's what Jesus said. Follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. Now, you are not called on to do the fishing, the cleaning, the cooking, the serving. Just fish. Fish for men. And so the church pond, look right in the first, before you even go outside, look on the inside, the church pond, and see who's in the church that's not. Look on your pew. Who's on your pew? Behind you, in front of you, who's not a member of Sunday school, and get them invited. Then you check here again, your relatives, your friends, your neighbor, former members, co-workers. Look for them. Remember, Jesus said, I came to seek and to save that who was lost. If it's not lost, and if it's lost and you're not looking for it, it would never be found. Think about the woman that had 10 coins. When she counted and she saw that she had 9, she lost it. That coin couldn't find itself. She had to search for the coin. So she had to go out and she had to sweep around the house. So now notice, the coin was lost in the house, which means you need to look around in your class or look around in the church and see who is not in Sunday school and get them involved. That's how you're going to grow your Sunday school. Now, in-reach, outreach. Now, before I go there, let me go back. Because the coin was lost. That was the look around within the church. But also, in that same chapter, in fact, that's the second thing, because it's Luke chapter 15. That's the second thing with the coin was lost. But the first was the sheep that had wandered away. And the shepherd had to go look for the sheep. Well, you may have some sheep in your class who have wandered off. You will have to go and look for them. The sheep does not know. Sheep are not like a dog. A dog can find his way back home. A sheep cannot find his way back home. All right? So go out and look for him. Now, let's go to the next block. In-reach, outreach. How to keep evangelism the center of your Sunday school class. How to keep evangelism the center of your Sunday school class. Here's what you can do. Of course, you got the evangelism coordinator. You can come up with your own ideas. These are just some ideas to get your brain cells moving. But under no way is this exclusive. Just include your own ideas. But one of the ways that we said is have an empty chair. Keep an empty chair to represent someone that you can bring to Sunday school. An empty chair. Who should be in that chair? All right? A prospect list. Make and keep a prospect list with the names of people both inside and outside of the church that need to be in Sunday school. And then contact that prospect list. You can call them, you can invite them. If you're going to have next thing, a social evening, that's who you invite. When you have your social evening, now we were thinking about class of going to Derby Dinner Playhouse. I think that's what it was. I hope I'm not telling tell on my class. But it was thinking about going somewhere else. I don't quite remember. But guess what? That's who we need to invite, because we need to let people see and know that Christians in church have fun just as well as non-believers outside of church. You do not have to get drunk, fall down drunk, and be loud and boisterous and obnoxious to have fun, but that we can have fun, be playing bingo, be cookout, be it going to the Derby Dinner Playhouse, be going to the movies or going out to eat. But when you do that, invite people on your prospect list. Then another thing, reporting. Help members to report each week the number of contacts they made during the week. Have them to say, how many did you contact? Anybody, how many contacts did you make? And let them say, I made 3. They don't have to give you a whole residue about what they did, how they did it, who they said, what they said. They don't have to do it. They say, I contacted 3 people, and one of them I hope is going to come. I guess I contacted 5, and one of them is here. That's all you got to do is reporting. Your lessons regularly include questions that deal with becoming a new Christian. In fact, on our lessons, we have principles, and there is an evangelism principle. That's a good place to start almost every week. That shows you that has to do with evangelizing, or the lesson, how it can come together with evangelism. So always look at your principle. Another thing is leadership training. We have to teach leaders how to lead someone to Christ. And that's what we're going to be doing in our next Sunday school series. Yeah, in our next Sunday school series. In fact, we're going to be doing that over the next 2 months, because the series in October is frangelism. Frangelism, in other words, bring your friend, bring your relative, bring your associate, bring a neighbor. Frangelism. Our first lesson, which we will do, and you will, by the time you see this, will already be done, is building a bridge to carry men to Christ. Another lesson will be, where is your brother? Bring your brother. So those are the kind of lessons. So we are designed not only to just the evangelism coordinator, but all of the persons in your class. Then we start new groups. That's another way. Start new groups. And then we show acts of kindness. Acts of kindness can be small, but they can go a long ways. Well, at St. Stephen, the way we do it, evangelism is important to us here at St. Stephen. So we call it, and as you well know, we go from the streets to the seats. That means we go out from the seats to the Savior. From the Savior, see, when they come to the seats, that's where worship comes in. And then from the Savior to the Stephen. Now we get you into membership. From the Stephen to Sunday school, that gets you into discipleship. And from the Sunday school to the service, and I don't mean back in worship service, I mean in ministry, and ministry will put you back out to the streets to bring someone in. That's the way it's done. Paul said do it, and that's in chapter 4 of Ephesians. Jesus said to us, the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. For the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. You got to get that again. Let me say it one more time. For the Son of Man has come to save, has come. Every time we said he's come to save that which was lost. And that's what we're going to do. Now, with just a few minutes I have left remaining here, I encourage you, what you will find in session 2, the roles of the teacher, one of them will be to read, and read some more. The 10 largest Sunday school classes, you see that? Rediscovering the Sunday school. Adult Sunday school ministry. Sunday school in HD. These are good books. You need to read them. Ignite. Nelson Searcy, he's good now. You need to get Nelson Searcy. Activate. I brought these out because I want you to understand that I'm here to help you to grow your class, but you have to want to grow your class. Simply strategic growth. Simple. And the one that I love, 10 best practice for Sunday school. And invest. Look, if you're not willing to invest, then guess what? Your class will not be the best. If you don't invest, your class won't be the best. Now, I'm going to tell you, I can challenge all of you right here, right now, because I'm going to challenge you. I'd like you to see you try and beat Coffee Cafe and Christ. I'd like to see you try. Notice I said try, and beat Coffee Cafe and Christ. Ain't going to happen. You know why? Because I believe in Sunday school, and at all costs, I believe in investing so I could have the best. That's the end of first session number 1. Tune in next time for session number 2. Thank you. Have a blessed day.